A millionaire prepares for a special celebration night on his private yacht with his family, when a little beggar girl who usually helps runs up to him shouting, "Sir, don't get on the yacht! It's going to explode!" The millionaire hesitates, but decides to go ahead with the plans, thinking it might be the child's imagination or a simple prank. Later, in the middle of the sea, overwhelmed by anxiety, he feels a horrible premonition and a tightness in his chest. He tells his wife, and they start arguing while their little son begins to cry. Then a few minutes pass, and the inevitable happens. The golden September afternoon painted the Fort Lauderdale marina in hues of amber and coral, creating the perfect backdrop for the celebration Richard Sterling had been planning for weeks. At 42, he had finally landed the contract of his dreams, a multi-million-dollar deal that would make his logistics company the largest on the East Coast. The sea breeze carried the salty scent that always calmed him, but today it also brought the promise of an unforgettable evening. His private yacht, the Golden Hour, bobbed gently at its exclusive pier, its elegant lines reflecting the setting sun. At 100 feet long with rich mahogany finishes, the vessel represented years of hard work and sacrifices that had finally paid off. Richard adjusted the knot on his navy blue tie, watching the crew make their final preparations. Every detail had been meticulously planned. Chilled Dom Perignon, fresh lobster prepared by his private chef, and a table set on the bow with a view of the infinite ocean. Marina, his wife of 15 years, was already on board with their 8-year-old son, Peter. She wore a flowing white dress that highlighted her brown hair, and she smiled with a sparkle in her eyes that Richard hadn't seen in months. Work had consumed so much of his time that he had almost forgotten how beautiful she was when she was happy. Peter was racing across the deck, exploring every corner with the typical curiosity of his age, his brown eyes, identical to his father's, shining with excitement. "Dad, when are we leaving?" the boy shouted, leaning against the railing and waving energetically. "I want to see the dolphins you promised." Richard smiled, a warmth spreading through his chest. This moment represented everything he had fought for: security for his family, comfort, and the chance to create precious memories, far from the hustle of business. He checked his watch, 6:30 in the evening. In a few minutes, they would be sailing toward the sunset, celebrating not just the contract, but the start of a new chapter in their lives. Captain Samuel, an experienced, gray-haired man who had worked with him for 5 years, approached with a respectful smile. "Mr. Sterling, all systems are checked. We're ready to depart whenever you are." "Perfect, Sam. Let's just wait a few more minutes while I sort out a few last details here." On the dock, Richard felt a deep satisfaction as he watched the port's activity. Workers loaded containers, cranes moved cargo, and the hum of commerce reminded him of how far he had come. The son of a small-town shopkeeper, he had built his empire with iron determination and an almost obsessive need to control every aspect of his business. Some called him a perfectionist, others a control freak, but the results spoke for themselves. He was about to step onto the gangway when he heard hurried footsteps on the wooden planks of the pier. He turned to see a small figure running toward him. It was Luna, a girl of about 7 whom he often saw near the marina. With disheveled dark hair and simple but always clean clothes, she had become a familiar presence in recent months. Richard felt a special tenderness for her, always offering her a sandwich or a few dollars when he saw her. But today was different. Luna was running with an urgency he had never seen before, her small, bare feet slapping frantically against the wood. Her eyes, usually sweet and curious, were wide with pure terror. When she reached him, she stopped abruptly, gasping for breath, her small hands trembling visibly. "Mister!" she cried out, her high-pitched voice cutting through the evening air. "Mister, don't get on the boat, please don't get on." Richard frowned, confused. Luna, honey? What's going on? Are you okay? The girl grabbed his sleeve with a strength surprising for someone so small. Tears began to well in her eyes, and she shook her head desperately. Your boat is going to explode, mister. I saw men messing with it earlier. You can't get on. Richard's world seemed to stop for a moment. He stared at Luna, trying to process her words. The girl had never lied to him before. She had always been polite and grateful for his help. But her claim sounded absurd. Who would want to sabotage his yacht? And why would a street kid know about it? Luna, are you sure about what you're saying? He asked, crouching down to her eye level. Can you tell me exactly what you saw? The girl swallowed hard, wiping away tears with the back of her hand. I was looking for food near the warehouses, mister. I saw two men in blue coveralls messing with the bottom of your boat. They had a black box and were whispering. When they saw me, one of them said to the other, "That kid saw too much." I ran and hid, but I heard them talking about blowing up the boat tonight. Richard's heart began to beat faster. The girl's description was too specific to be a fabrication. But his rational mind fought the impulse to believe. He had built his empire on facts, analysis, and logical decisions. How could he change all his plans based on a child's story? Dad, is everything okay? Peter's voice brought him back to reality. The boy had come down from the yacht and was approaching with curiosity. Who's this girl? Marina also appeared on the gangway, elegant in her white dress, but with an impatient expression. Richard, what is going on? Dinner is getting cold and the sun is already setting. Richard felt torn between two worlds. On one side, his family, waiting for their planned celebration, the chef preparing exquisite dishes, the chilled champagne awaiting a toast to success. On the other, a street kid with eyes full of terror begging him not to board. Marina, can you take Peter back to the yacht? I just need to handle something quickly here. His wife crossed her arms, clearly annoyed. Richard, you promised today would be our day. No work, no complications. We've already spent the whole afternoon waiting for you to finish your calls. I know, honey, but nothing. This girl can wait. You help her all the time, but right now is our family's moment. Luna watched the argument with increasingly desperate eyes. She tugged on Richard's sleeve again, her voice growing sharper. Mister, please, I'm not lying. The men were bad. I could feel it. Peter approached the girl with the natural curiosity of children. Hi, I'm Peter. What's your name? Luna, she replied, wiping her nose on the sleeve of her faded shirt. That's a pretty name. Do you want to come on our boat? Dad always invites cool people. His son's innocent comment made Richard pause. Peter, with his childlike purity, saw no social differences. To him, Luna was just another kid who could be a friend. But Marina didn't share the same view. Peter, come here right now, she said, her tone admitting no argument. We don't want to be delayed any longer. Richard felt the pressure mounting. His controlling nature demanded he analyze the situation. Methodically, but there was no time. His paternal instinct whispered that something was wrong, while business logic insisted he was wasting precious time on fantasies. He decided to try a middle ground. Luna, I'm going to check what you said. In the meantime, can you stay here on the pier? Don't leave the marina. The girl shook her head vigorously. No, mister, you can't get on the boat. Even if you check now, it could be a bomb with a timer. The word bomb made Marina take a step back, pulling Peter with her. Richard, this girl is clearly disturbed. Let's go now. Marina, wait. No! I've had enough. Either you come now or Peter and I are going alone. You're letting a street kid ruin the most important night for our family. Richard's internal conflict intensified. His wife was right about the importance of the night, but Luna's eyes conveyed a sincerity that deeply troubled him. He had never faced such a difficult decision. to follow logic or to trust his gut. The sun continued its descent, painting the sky in shades of orange. Time was running out, and Richard had to choose between reason and a visceral feeling that something terrible was about to happen. Richard took a deep breath, looking at the faces around him. Marina waited for an answer with growing impatience. Peter was distractedly playing with a rope from the yacht, and Luna kept her eyes fixed on him, as if her life depended on the decision he would make. The weight of responsibility felt crushing. "All right," he said finally, his voice tight with a forced resolve. "We'll board, but first I'm going to take a quick look around the yacht with Captain Sam, just to make sure everything is in order." Luna grabbed his hand tightly. "No, mister. It doesn't matter what you see now. They could have hidden it really well. Please believe me." Marina rolled her eyes, clearly exasperated. "Richard, this has gone beyond ridiculous. Are you going to let a child run our lives? The captain already checked everything before we arrived." "I know, Marina, but it won't hurt to take a second look." "Sam," Richard called, waving to the captain who was organizing equipment on the bow. The gray-haired man approached with firm steps, noticing the tension in the air. "Yes, Mr. Sterling. Is there a problem?" "Sam, could you do a full check of the hull and the engine compartment? I want to be absolutely certain everything is in perfect working order." The captain frowned, surprised. "Sir, I already did the standard inspection this morning. All systems are running normally. Is there a specific concern?" Richard hesitated, feeling the weight of the questioning looks. How could he explain that? He was acting on the word of a street kid. "It's just an extra precaution, Sam. Tonight is a very important night for my family." "Of course, sir. I'll check again, but it will take about 20 minutes. Marina let out an exasperated sigh. 20 minutes? Richard, the most beautiful part of the sunset will be gone. Dinner will be ruined. Marina, please understand, it's just a check." As Sam disappeared into the yacht's interior with a powerful flashlight, Richard tried to calm Luna, who remained visibly agitated. "See, we're going to check everything properly. Mister, you don't understand. They were very smart. I saw how carefully they worked under the boat. It won't be easy to find." Peter approached again, intrigued by the conversation. "Dad, why is Luna scared? Did something bad happen?" Richard knelt beside his son, choosing his words carefully. "Sometimes, Peter, people warn us about things that might be dangerous. Even when we're not sure if it's true, it's important to listen. Like when Grandma says I can't run near the pool?" Exactly like that, champ. Marina watched the conversation with growing irritation. She had been preparing for this night for weeks, had chosen the perfect dress, coordinated with the chef, and even bought a special gift to celebrate her husband's success. Seeing it all fall apart because of an unknown child was infuriating. "Richard, I need to speak with you, alone." Her voice had a tone he knew well. It meant a serious argument was coming. They stepped away, leaving the children talking. Marina crossed her arms, her green eyes flashing with irritation. "Have you completely lost your mind? We're letting a homeless girl run our lives." "Marina, she's not just a homeless girl. She's a child who needs help and maybe nothing. You're being manipulated, Richard. This girl probably wants something, money, attention, who knows, and you're falling for it hook, line, and sinker." "And what if she's telling the truth? And what if she's lying? What if we're missing the most important night for our family because of a fantasy?" Marina took a deep breath, trying to control her voice. "Richard, I love you, but you're being paranoid. Your success is going to your head." His wife's words hit Richard like a punch. Could she be right? Was his recent success creating imaginary enemies? His controlling nature had always led him to consider every possible scenario, but maybe this time he was going too far. Sam returned after 15 minutes, wiping his hands on a rag. "Mr. Sterling, I've checked the entire hull from the inside, the engine compartment, the fuel tanks, and the electrical system. Everything is perfect. The yacht is in ideal condition for sailing." Richard felt a mix of relief and confusion. If there was nothing wrong, why was Luna so desperate? He looked at the girl, who was watching Sam with suspicion, as if she didn't believe the results of the inspection. The sun was now touching the horizon, creating a spectacle of colors that would last only a few minutes. It was the perfect moment to leave, but Richard still felt a knot in his stomach that he couldn't explain. Richard's internal conflict reached its peak as he watched the sun rapidly approaching the horizon. Marina tapped her foot impatiently on the deck. Peter played carefree with a lifebuoy, and Luna remained by his side, her small eyes filled with an urgency that deeply disturbed him. "Mister," she whispered, discreetly tugging his sleeve, "I know the boatman didn't find anything, but they were very clever. They hid it really well. Please don't go today." Richard knelt again to her level. "Luna, I need to understand something. How are you so sure? Have you seen bombs before?" The girl bit her lower lip, hesitating. "My dad, before he went to heaven, he worked for a security company. He taught me about dangerous things. He said that bad men sometimes put things that explode in other people's cars and boats." The answer surprised Richard. He had always wondered about Luna's family, but had never pried. The girl had always been private about her past, and he had respected that. Now finding out she had some knowledge of sabotage made him reconsider her credibility. "And what else did your father teach you?" "He said that bad men always do things when no one is looking, and that they're very careful not to get caught. He said if I ever saw something strange, I should always tell the good grown-ups." Marina approached, clearly annoyed by the prolonged conversation. "Richard, it's almost 7. If we don't leave now, we'll miss the sunset completely. What is this child talking about now?" "She's telling me about her father." "Her father? And what does that have to do with our yacht?" Richard stood up, feeling pressured from all sides. "Marina, maybe we should postpone the trip until tomorrow, just as a precaution." "Postpone?" Marina's voice went up an octave. "Richard, have you gone completely insane? We have the chef waiting, the champagne is chilled, I cancelled all my plans for tonight, and you want to postpone because of a street kid who's probably making up stories?" "I'm not making them up," Luna interrupted, her small hands clenched into fists. "I saw them! I heard them! You'll get hurt if you get on the boat!" Peter, who had stopped playing to watch the argument, approached with a worried expression. "Mom, why are you fighting? Luna is crying." Indeed, tears were rolling down the girl's cheeks. She looked desperate, as if she were carrying the weight of the world on her small shoulders. Richard's heart ached seeing her like that. Marina sighed, trying to control her irritation. "Peter, sweetie, sometimes grown-ups disagree about important things. But don't worry, we'll figure it out." "Can I ask Luna a question?" Peter looked at his parents with his innocent eyes. "Of course, son." Peter turned to Luna, who was wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "Luna, are you scared of boats?" "No," she answered in a choked voice. "I'm scared you'll get hurt. You're good people. The mister always gives me food and is never mean to me. I don't want anything to happen to him." The sincerity in the girl's voice even touched Marina. For a moment, her hardened expression softened, and she looked at Luna more closely. She saw a thin child with simple but clean clothes, hair disheveled by the wind, but with eyes that shone with intelligence and honesty. "Luna," Marina said, her voice softer, "are you absolutely sure of what you saw?" "I am, Mom. I never lied to the mister. He's very good to me." Richard watched the interaction between his wife and Luna, feeling that something was shifting. Marina had always been a smart and observant woman. If she was questioning the girl directly, perhaps she was beginning to consider the possibility that the warning was real. Captain Sam approached again, checking his watch. "Mr. Sterling, if we want to catch the sunset, we need to leave in the next 5 minutes. The sea conditions are perfect, and we'll have a full moon tonight." The time pressure made the decision even more agonizing. Richard looked at the yacht, his floating masterpiece, then at his waiting family, and finally at Luna, who watched him with pleading eyes. "Sam," he said slowly, "prepare the yacht for departure. But I want you to do one more check on the security system. Make sure all the smoke detectors and alarms are working." Luna shook her head desperately. "It won't do any good, mister. The detectors won't help if the explosion is big." The girl's words echoed in the evening air, creating a tense silence that seemed to carry the weight of a decision that would change everything. The silence that followed Luna's words was broken by the sound of waves gently lapping against the yacht's hull. Richard felt each second pass like an eternity as he wrestled with the most difficult decision of his life. His meticulous nature demanded concrete proof, but something deep in his gut screamed at him to heed the girl's warning. Marina watched her husband with a mixture of concern and frustration. She had known Richard for 15 years and had never seen him so indecisive. He had always been the man who made quick, confident decisions, who controlled every aspect of his business life with military precision. Seeing him hesitate because of a child left her bewildered. "Richard," she said, approaching and touching his arm, "look at me. You're letting the stress from work affect your judgment. When was the last time you took a real vacation? Spent a whole day without thinking about business?" The question hit Richard hard. It was true that the last few months had been intense. The contract he had just signed had required exhaustive meetings, constant travel, and sleepless nights analyzing proposals. Maybe his mind was creating problems where none existed. "I know you want to protect our family," Marina continued, her voice softer. "It's one of the things I love most about you. But sometimes being overprotective can stop us from living." Peter, who had been watching the conversation with the seriousness of a child trying to understand the adult world, approached his father. "Dad, are you scared of the boat?" The innocent question made Richard reflect. Was he scared, or was he being rational? "Not exactly scared, Peter. It's more like when you feel something might be wrong, even without knowing exactly what. Like when I feel there's a monster in my closet, even though I know monsters aren't real." "Something like that, son." Luna, who had remained quiet during the family conversation, took a step forward. "Can I say something?" All eyes turned to her. "Of course, Luna," Richard said. "Mister, I know you think I'm just a little girl who doesn't understand anything. But I've lived on the street for a long time. I know when people are dangerous. Those men, they had bad eyes, and when they saw me, they got really nervous." Marina crouched down to Luna's level. "Luna, can you describe these men to me? What did they look like?" One was tall and thin with a scar on his chin. The other was shorter and heavy and bald. They were wearing blue coveralls like the ones who work at the port, but they weren't from the port. "How do you know they weren't from the port?" Richard asked. "Because I know everyone who works here. They always say hi and sometimes give me food. These men were different. They kept looking around like they were afraid of being seen." Luna's detailed description impressed Richard. She wasn't making up details or hesitating in her answers. It all sounded consistent and carefully observed. Sam returned with a calm expression. "Mr. Sterling, all security systems are functioning perfectly. Smoke detectors, alarms, emergency communication system, all operational." "Thank you, Sam." Richard took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the final decision closing in. The sun was nearly touching the horizon, painting the sky in golden and orange hues that would only last a few precious minutes. Marina took his hand. "Honey, I understand your concern. How about this? We board, but we stay close to the shore. If there's any problem, we can come back quickly." It was a reasonable proposal, a compromise that could satisfy both his concern and their desire to celebrate. But Luna shook her head vigorously. "No, ma'am. If there's a bomb on the boat, it doesn't matter if you're close to the shore or far from it. The explosion will happen anyway." "Luna," Marina said with forced patience, "are you sure it was a bomb? It could have been anything else they were fixing. I heard them talking about a timer and an explosion. I know what those words mean." Richard closed his eyes for a moment, trying to organize his thoughts. His company had grown because he had always trusted both rational analysis and intuition. Now they seemed to be in direct conflict. "Dad," Peter said, tugging on his shirt, "what if we take Luna with us? Then she'll see the boat is safe." The child's innocent suggestion created a moment of tension. Marina opened her mouth to protest, but Richard raised a hand, asking for silence. He was getting an idea. The idea that sparked in Richard's mind was risky, but it might be the only way to break the stalemate. He looked at Luna with a thoughtful expression, then at his family, and finally at the yacht, bobbing gently in the golden twilight water. "Luna," he said, crouching down again, "you said the men were messing with the underside of the yacht, right?" "Yes, mister. They had a small flashlight and were working near where the engine is." "And you're sure they weren't port employees?" "I'm sure. I know everyone here." Richard stood up and walked to the edge of the pier, peering at the yacht's waterline. If there really was an explosive device, it would likely be attached to the hull, near the engine compartment. Sam had checked the interior, but not the submerged exterior. "Sam," he called out, "did you check the outside of the hull, below the waterline?" The captain frowned. "No, sir, for that I'd need diving gear. Why do you ask?" Marina realized where the conversation was heading. "Richard, you're not seriously thinking of—" "Marina, what if we do one last check? If there's nothing, there we board and enjoy our evening if there is." He didn't finish the sentence. "Mister!" Luna approached him, her eyes shining with hope. "Are you going to look under the boat?" "I'm considering it." Marina crossed her arms, her patience at its limit. "Richard, now you're being completely irrational. You want to dive into the filthy marina water because of an unfounded suspicion." "It's not unfounded if it could save our lives." "And what if it's a waste of time? What if we're losing our special night for absolutely nothing?" Sam intervened. Respectfully, "Mr. Sterling, if you'd like, I can contact a professional diver, but that would take at least 2 hours." 2 hours? Marina rolled her eyes. "Perfect. That way, we'll completely miss dinner, the sunset, and probably half the night." Peter, who had been quiet, approached Luna. "Luna, you really don't want us to go on the boat, do you?" "I do, Peter. I really like your dad. He's always kind to me. I don't want anything bad to happen to you guys." The girl's sincerity touched Peter, who turned to his parents. "Mum, Dad, what if Luna is right? What if we go on the boat and something bad happens?" Marina felt cornered by her son's childlike logic. How could she explain to a child that sometimes adults have to make decisions based on probability, not possibility? "Peter, sweetie," she said, kneeling beside him, "sometimes people get scared of things that aren't real, like when you have nightmares. But Luna isn't sleeping. She's awake and talking to us." Richard watched the conversation, feeling like he was losing control of the situation. His decisive nature demanded a resolution, but every option seemed to carry enormous risks. If he ignored the warning and something happened, he would never forgive himself. If he cancelled the trip and there was no real danger, Marina might never forget it. "Mister," Luna tugged his sleeve again, "I can show you where I saw the men working. It's on this side of the boat." She pointed to the starboard side of the yacht. Richard walked to where she indicated, trying to see through the murky harbor water. The twilight made visibility difficult, but he could vaguely make out the submerged hull. "If I just take a quick dive," he muttered to himself. "Richard, no." Marina grabbed his arm. "You are not diving into that dirty water. It's dangerous and unnecessary. Marina, it's only a few feet deep. I'm a good swimmer. And what if you get hurt? What if you get tangled in something? This is crazy, all because of a suspicion." Luna watched the argument with growing desperation. "Please, don't fight because of me. I just wanted to warn you." The conflict was reaching a critical point. The sun continued to sink, the golden light giving way to the reddish hues of dusk, and Richard felt he had to make a final decision. "Sam," he said at last, "get me a diving mask and a waterproof flashlight. I'm going to take a quick look at the hull." "Yes, sir." Sam headed for the equipment locker. Marina held Richard's face in her hands. "Look at me. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you're not letting stress and paranoia control you?" Richard looked into his wife's green eyes, then at Peter, who was watching with concern, and finally at Luna, whose gaze held a mixture of hope and fear. "Marina, if I don't do this, I'll never have peace of mind. I need to be sure my family is safe." Richard took off his jacket and tie, handing them to Marina with a determination she recognized. It was the same look he had when closing important deals. Sam returned with a professional diving mask and a waterproof LED flashlight. Equipment he kept on the yacht for emergencies. "Sir, the water's a bit murky today," Sam warned. "Visibility is about 10 feet. "That'll be enough." Richard adjusted the mask, testing the seal. "I'll just check the area near the engine where Luna said she saw the men." Marina remained beside him, visibly tense. "Richard, please, be quick. And if you feel anything strange, come back immediately." "I will, honey." He kissed her forehead and waved at Peter. "Take care of Mom while I'm gone, champ." Luna approached him, her small eyes full of gratitude. "Thank you for believing me." "Mister, let's see if you were right, kiddo." Richard carefully climbed down the side ladder of the pier, feeling the cold harbor water seep into his clothes. The temperature made him shiver, but he forced himself to focus on the task. He took a deep breath, switched on the flashlight, and dove. Underwater, the world became silent and dark. The flashlight cut a cone of light through the murk, revealing the yacht's dark blue hull. Richard swam toward the engine area, where Luna had indicated she'd seen the men. At first, everything looked normal. The hull was clean and well-maintained, with no signs of tampering. But then, as he neared the stern, something caught his eye. A small black box was fixed to the hull, connected by wires that disappeared toward the engine compartment. His heart nearly stopped when he recognized the object. It wasn't original equipment. With his hands trembling from adrenaline and the cold, Richard examined the device more closely. It was the size of a shoebox, attached with industrial suction, cups, and waterproof tape. Colored wires led from it to what looked like a digital timer. The display showed red numbers: 2247, 2246, 2245. Richard's blood ran cold. It was a bomb with a timer, just as Luna had said, and there were less than 23 minutes left. He surfaced with his heart pounding, shouting before he even took off the mask, "Get off the yacht! Everyone off now!" Marina rushed to the edge of the pier. "Richard, what is it? What did you see?" "Bomb!" he yelled, swimming quickly back to the ladder. "There's a bomb on the hull! Sam, get everyone off the yacht immediately!" The captain didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir." He started running across the deck, shouting to the crew, "Emergency evacuation! Everyone off now!" Marina went pale, her legs weakening. "Oh my God, Richard, that means—" Luna was right. Richard said, climbing the ladder quickly, dripping water everywhere. "There's a bomb with a timer. We have about 20 minutes left." Peter ran to his father, frightened by the commotion. "Dad, what's happening?" "Peter, I need you and Mom to get away from the yacht right now." Luna approached, her eyes revealing a mix of sadness and validation. "I knew it, mister. I knew they wanted to hurt you." Richard knelt in front of her, still panting. "Luna, you saved our lives. You saved my family." He hugged her, feeling the girl's small hands trembling against his wet back. The chef and the two crew members ran off the yacht carrying essential equipment. Sam was the last one off, bringing the first aid kit and the emergency radio. "Mr. Sterling, I need to contact the Coast Guard immediately," Sam said, already tuning the radio. "Do it, and call the police too." Marina scooped Peter into her arms, moving further, away from the yacht. "Richard, who would do something like this? Why?" "I don't know, honey, but we're going to find out." He looked at the yacht that was supposed to be the stage for his celebration and was now a deadly threat. "We need to get out of here. If the blast is big—" "Mister," Luna tugged on his wet shirt, "the bad men, they might still be around. They might be waiting to see if their plan worked." The girl's observation made Richard look around with growing paranoia. The marina was bustling with normal late afternoon activity, but now every person seemed suspicious. Anyone could be watching, waiting for the explosion. "Sam, how long until the Coast Guard gets here?" 15 minutes, sir." Richard looked at the mental timer that had started in his head. The bomb would go off before help arrived, and if Luna was right about the men still being nearby, they could all be in much greater danger than they imagined. Richard picked up Peter and took Marina's hand, leading them quickly away from the pier. Luna ran beside them, her small bare feet pattering against the wet concrete. Panic began to spread among the yacht's crew, who didn't fully understand what was happening but sensed the urgency in their commanders' voices. "Where are we going?" Marina asked, her voice trembling with both fear and adrenaline. "To the parking lot. I need to get you all to safety and then warn the authorities about the entire marina area." Sam ran behind them, still trying to make contact with the coast. "Guard. Mayday, mayday. This is Private Yacht The Golden Hour. We have a confirmed explosive device. I repeat, bomb confirmed at Pier 7 of the marina." As they ran, Richard noticed that some people at the port had stopped to watch the commotion. A tall man near the warehouses caught his attention. He seemed to be watching their group specifically, not just the general confusion. When their eyes met, the man quickly turned his face and started walking in the opposite direction. "Luna," Richard said without breaking stride. "That man over there, the tall one near the blue containers. Is he one of the men you saw working on the yacht?" The girl looked in the direction he indicated, and her eyes widened. "Yes, that's him, the one with the scar on his chin." Richard felt a wave of rage mixed with fear. The culprits were here, watching, waiting for their diabolical plan to succeed. They probably wanted to confirm the family was on the yacht when the bomb exploded. "Sam," he yelled, "see that man walking away from the containers? He could be one of the perpetrators." The captain looked in the indicated direction, but the man had already disappeared between the warehouses. "Sir, I'll report that to the police when they arrive." They reached the parking lot, and Richard quickly unlocked his car, a black SUV that offered protection and space for everyone. "Marina, get in with Peter. Luna, you too." "Mister, I can't get your nice car dirty." "Luna, now is not the time to worry about that. Get in." The girl complied, sitting next to Peter, who instinctively took her hand. Marina remained visibly shaken, but tried to stay calm for her son. Richard started the engine and drove to an icky area farther from the port, away from the potential blast zone. He stopped on a small rise that offered a view of the marina from a safe distance. "Dad, Peter said in a small voice. "Is the bomb really going to explode?" "Unfortunately, yes, son, but we're far away now. We're safe." "And our beautiful boat?" Richard felt a tightness in his chest. The yacht represented years of work, achievements, and dreams realized. But looking at his family beside him, he knew that material possessions could be replaced. Lives could not. "The boat was just a thing, Peter. The important thing is that we're all okay." Marina took her husband's hand. "Richard, I'm so... You're sorry. I almost forced us onto that yacht. If you had listened to me..." "Marina, don't blame yourself. You were right to question it. I had my doubts too." "But Luna didn't have any doubts," Peter said, looking at the girl with childlike admiration. "She knew it was dangerous, and she warned us." Luna lowered her head, embarrassed by the attention. "I just didn't want you to get hurt." On the car radio, local news began to report unusual activity at the port. "We're receiving reports that the Coast Guard and police are responding to an emergency at the central marina. Citizens are advised to avoid the area." Sam ran up to the car, panting. "Mr. Sterling, the Coast Guard is arriving, and so are the police. They want to speak with you and..." He hesitated. "They asked how we discovered the bomb." "Tell them it was thanks to..." Luna, she saw the men planting the device. "Mister," Luna tugged his sleeve, "what if the bad men come after me? What if they find out it was me who told?" The girl's question made Richard realize a dimension of the danger he hadn't yet considered. If the people responsible found out Luna had exposed them, she would become a target, a witness who needed to be silenced. "Luna, do you have a place to stay tonight, somewhere safe?" "I sleep in cardboard boxes behind the market." "Not tonight. You're staying with us." Marina looked at her husband in surprise but didn't protest. The urgency of the situation had shifted all normal priorities. "Mister, I can't be a bother." "You are no bother at all. You saved our family. Now it's our turn to protect you." In the distance, the sirens of police cars and the Coast Guard grew louder. Richard checked his watch. About 10 minutes until the explosion. They were safe, but he couldn't stop thinking about the other boats in the marina, the port workers, who might be in danger. "Sam, make sure the police evacuate the entire area. That bomb could cause damage far beyond my yacht." Suddenly, Luna pointed towards the marina. "Mister, look!" They all followed Luna's gaze. 2 police cruisers and a Coast Guard truck had just arrived, their red and blue lights flashing frantically against the orange twilight sky. Officers were running along the pier, evacuating the few people still in the area. "They made it in time," Marina murmured, relieved. Richard checked his watch again. 5 minutes. His heart raced as he watched the last of the port workers being led away from the danger zone. A Coast Guard helicopter appeared on the horizon, approaching quickly. "Dad, why did those bad men want to hurt our boat?" Peter asked, his innocence a stark contrast to the gravity of the situation. "Sometimes, son, when people can't succeed through honest means, they try to harm those who have. It's envy and malice." Luna listened intently to the explanation. "It's like my dad always used to say, some people would rather destroy than build. Your father was a wise man, Luna." Suddenly, a massive flash lit up the marina, followed seconds later by a deafening roar that shook the car. A column of fire and smoke shot into the sky, and debris flew in all directions. The golden hour had been turned into flames and metal. Fragments. Peter screamed and clung to Marina, who wrapped him in a protective embrace. Luna squeezed her eyes shut, trembling. Richard felt a mixture of shock and terror as he imagined what would have happened if they had been on board just 15 minutes earlier. "Oh my God," Marina whispered, tears streaming down her face. "We could have been in there." "But we weren't," Richard said firmly, though his own voice trembled. "Thanks to Luna, we weren't." The explosion had been much larger than he'd expected. Pieces of the yacht rained down into the surrounding water, and other nearby boats had been damaged by the shockwave. Fortunately, the area had been evacuated, so there appeared to be no injuries. The car radio crackled with an urgent news update. A large explosion has just occurred at the central marina. Authorities confirm the area was preventatively evacuated following a bomb threat. There are no reports of injuries at this time. Sam knocked on the car window and Richard rolled it down. Mr. Sterling, the lead detective, wants to speak with us, and they need Luna's statement about what she saw. Of course, we'll go to them. They got out of the car and walked toward the makeshift command post the police had established. A middle-aged detective with graying hair and a serious expression approached them. Mr. Sterling, I'm Detective Miller. I need you to tell me exactly what happened. Richard recounted the entire sequence of events, from Luna's initial warning to his discovery of the bomb. The detective took careful notes, occasionally asking questions to clarify details. "And you, little one," the detective said, crouching down to Luna's level, "can you describe the men you saw?" Luna repeated her detailed description of the two men, adding new details she had remembered. The tall one had a scar on his chin and talked with a different accent. The short one had a tattoo on his right arm. "You're very observant," the detective praised her. "This information is very important." "Detective," Richard interrupted, "I'm concerned for Luna's safety. If the people responsible find out she was the one who warned us." "I understand your concern. We'll arrange for her protection." The detective looked at Luna. "Where do you live, honey?" "She has nowhere to live," Richard said quickly. "She's an orphan and lives on the streets. I'd like to arrange for safe accommodation for her tonight." The detective nodded. "That's a good idea. We'll need more statements in the coming days, so she should stay at a known location." Marina came forward and placed a hand on Luna's shoulder. "She can stay at our house for as long as necessary." "Thank you, Mom," Luna said shyly. "I promise I won't be any trouble." "You won't be any trouble at all, sweetie. You saved our family." The detective continued, asking questions about Richard's potential enemies, business rivals, people who might have a motive to harm him. The list was longer than he liked to admit. Success in business inevitably created some resentments. "Detective," Richard said, "the man Luna identified earlier was watching us escape. He hid when he realized we saw him. We'll check the port's security cameras. We might be able to get an ID." Peter, who had been quiet during the conversation, approached Luna. "Luna, do you want to be my sister? That way you can live with us forever." The innocent question brought tears to the eyes of all the adults present. Luna looked at Peter with tenderness, then at Richard and Marina. "I'd like that very much, Peter, but I don't know if I can—" "Of course you can," Richard said, surprising himself with his own words. "We'll talk about it calmly once this whole situation is resolved." The detective closed his notebook. "For now, stay in a safe location. We'll intensify the investigation and hope to have more information soon. And Luna," he smiled at the girl, "you're a hero. Without your courage, this story could have had a very different ending." The Sterling residence, located in a gated community on the outskirts of the city, had never received a visitor quite like Luna. When they arrived, it was already dark, and the warm yellow light from the windows created a welcoming atmosphere that contrasted sharply with the day's traumatic events. Luna stood in the entryway, looking at the two-story house with its manicured lawn and small front fountain. Her eyes scanned every detail with silent awe. It was a world completely different from the one she knew. "Come in, sweetie," Marina said gently, noticing the girl's hesitation. "This is your home for now." "It's very beautiful," Luna whispered. "I've never seen such a beautiful house." Peter took her hand enthusiastically. Come on, I'll show you everything. There's a pool in the backyard and a swing set in the garden. Inside, Marina led Luna to a bathroom. How about a warm bath? You must be exhausted after everything that happened today. I don't know how to use a rich people's bathroom, Luna admitted, embarrassed. We're not rich people. We're just a normal family, Marina smiled. And a bathroom is a bathroom. I'll help you. While Marina looked after Luna, Richard stayed in the living room with Peter, trying to process the day's events. His phone was ringing constantly, reporters wanting interviews, worried business, partners, friends who had seen the news about the explosion. Dad, is Luna really going to stay with us? Peter asked, snuggling on the couch next to his father. For now, yes, son, she needs to be safe. And after? When she doesn't need to be safe anymore? Peter's question echoed Richard's own thoughts. What would happen to Luna when the investigation was over? Would she go back to the streets? The idea deeply unsettled him. I don't know, Peter. We'll see how things develop. Marina came down the stairs with Luna, who was now wearing borrowed clothes, one of Peter's pink t-shirts and a pair of sweatpants that were far too big for her. Her hair was clean and combed, revealing a delicate face that the grime and exhaustion of the streets had masked. Wow, Peter exclaimed. Luna, you look so pretty. Luna smiled shyly, touching her still damp hair. Thanks. It's been a long time since I had a hot bath. Richard's heart ached thinking about the hardships this child had faced. Luna, are you hungry? Marina can make you something. I'll eat anything, mister. I don't want to be a bother. You're no bother at all, Marina said firmly. How about a ham and cheese sandwich? And there's chocolate milk in the fridge. Chocolate milk? Luna's eyes lit up. For real? For real. Peter loves chocolate milk before bed. While Marina prepared the snack, Richard watched the interaction between Peter and Luna. His son, always sociable, was doing everything he could to make the girl feel welcome, showing her his toys and telling her stories about school. Luna, Peter said, do you go to school? No, I've never been to a real school. Really? But do you know how to read? A little. My dad taught me before he left. Richard intervened carefully. Luna, if you'd like, we can talk about school. Every child has a right to an education, but I don't have money for school. There are very good public schools, Marina explained, bringing the snack. And if you stay with us for a while, we can take care of all the necessary paperwork. Luna picked up the glass of chocolate milk with both hands, as if it were a treasure. You would do that for me? Even though I'm just a girl from the street. Luna, Richard said, kneeling in front of her, you're not just a girl from the street. You are intelligent, brave, and you saved our family. That makes you someone very special. Besides, Peter added, you're a friend now, and friends take care of each other. Tears began to roll down Luna's face, but this time they were tears of gratitude and relief. I've never had a real family. Just my dad. And he's been gone a long time. Marina sat beside her on the couch. Do you want to tell us about your dad? Only if you want to, of course. Luna took a deep breath, as if preparing to share something very intimate. He used to work for a big company, in security. But a bad man made him lose his job. Dad said the man was stealing money, and when my dad tried to tell the boss, the man lied about him. Richard frowned. Do you remember the name of that company? Or the man who hurt your father? The company. I don't remember it well. It had Coastal in the name, and the man, Dad always called him the Weasel, but that wasn't his real name. A strange feeling washed over Richard. The coast had several companies with Coastal in their names, including some of his competitors. Could it be a coincidence? Luna, did your father tell you anything else about this man? He said that one day the man would pay for what he did, and that men like him always get found out in the end. Luna dried her tears, but Dad died before he could see that happen. Peter gave Luna a spontaneous hug. You have a new family now, and my dad is really good at finding out things about bad men. Peter's innocent observation made Richard think. Was it possible that the attack on him was connected to Luna's past? The coincidence seemed too unlikely to be ignored. The next morning, Richard woke early with an unsettling feeling. Luna's words about her father echoed in his mind, especially the mention of a company with Coastal in its name. He decided to make a few discreet calls before the rest of the family woke up. He went down to his home office and called Mark, his most trusted assistant. Mark, I need you to research something for me discreetly. I want information on employees fired in the last 3 years from logistics companies on the coast, especially those with Coastal in their names. Of course, Mr. Sterling. Any specific criteria? Security personnel who might have been fired for reporting irregularities. While he waited, Richard made coffee and looked out the kitchen window. Luna and Peter were already awake, playing. In the garden, the girl looked like a completely different child, clean, well-fed, and most importantly, happy. But he couldn't shake the feeling that there was a deeper connection between her and the attack. Marina came downstairs, still in her robe. Are you okay? You look worried. I'm thinking about what Luna told us yesterday about her father. It could be a coincidence, but you think it might be related to what happened to us? It's possible. The coastal business community isn't that large. If her father was wronged by someone in our field... The phone rang, interrupting the conversation. It was Mark. Mr. Sterling, I found something interesting. 2 years ago, an employee named Robert Silver was fired from Coastal Blue Logistics for inappropriate conduct. But there are records showing he had filed whistleblower reports about financial irregularities before his dismissal. Richard's heart quickened. Coastal Blue Logistics was one of his main competitors, run by Edward Thorne, the same man who had lost the multi-million-dollar contract to him. Mark, can you get more details on this Robert Silver? I'm on it now. Oh, sir, there's something else. Robert Silver had a daughter who was orphaned after his death. The child disappeared from the foster care system a few months ago. A chill ran down Richard's spine. What was the daughter's name? Luna Silver. The phone almost slipped from Richard's hands. Marina, he called out, his voice strained. We need to talk to Luna. Now. They went out to the garden, where they found the children building a sandcastle in a small sandbox Marina had set up. Luna was beaming, more animated than Richard had ever seen her. Luna, sweetie, Marina said affectionately, can we talk with you for a minute? Sure. Luna ran over to them, with Peter trailing just behind. Luna, Richard knelt to her level. Do you remember your father's full name? Robert Silver, why, mister? And the company where he worked? Do you remember it now? Luna thought for a moment. Coastal Blue. Something like that. Dad always said it was a big company that moved things by sea. Marina and Richard exchanged a meaningful glance. The connection was becoming clear. Luna, the man your father called the Weasel, was he the head of the company? Yes. Dad said he stole money and lied to everyone. And that one, a day someone would find out the truth. Richard took a deep breath. Edward Thorne, the man who had lost the contract to him, who had always shown excessive animosity, who had a questionable reputation in the business community. Mister, why are you asking this? Luna looked worried. Luna, I think the man who hurt your father might be the same one who tried to hurt us yesterday. The girl's eyes widened. Really? You know the bad man? I think so. And if I'm right, it means you weren't in the wrong place at the wrong time. You were exactly where you needed to be to save us and at the same time help bring justice for your father. Peter, who had been listening intently, approached Luna. Does that mean Dad is going to arrest the man who was mean to your dad? Not me exactly, Peter, but I'm going to help the police find out the truth. Luna hugged Richard tightly. Mister, if you can prove that man hurt me and you, my dad will be so proud up in heaven. I'm sure he's already proud of you, kiddo. Very proud. Marina wiped away a tear that insisted on falling. Richard, this means the attack wasn't just about the contract. It was also about revenge. Exactly. Thorne didn't just lose the contract to me. He must have found out Robert Silver was Luna's father and that she was hanging around the marina. Maybe he was afraid she might one day recognize him or say something that would incriminate him. So he decided to kill two birds with one stone, Marina concluded. Get rid of the competition and a potential witness. But he didn't count on Luna's courage, Richard said, looking at the girl with renewed admiration. Nor on the fact that she would save us and, in the process, place herself under our protection. Luna looked at Richard with eyes full of determination. Mister, are you going to help arrest him? The man who killed my dad and tried to kill you? We're going to help the police with everything we know, Luna. Justice will be done. And after, can I really stay with you? Richard and Marina looked at each other. The question was loaded with hope and vulnerability. Luna, Marina said, we very much want you to stay with us. But first, we need to sort out this whole legal situation and make sure you're completely safe. In the meantime, Richard added, you are part of this family, and families take care of each other. Detective Miller arrived at the Sterling house the next afternoon with a grave expression that suggested major developments in the case. Richard met him in the office, while Marina stayed with the children in the living room, trying to maintain an air of normality. Mr. Sterling, the information you provided this morning was crucial. We secured search warrants for Coastal Blue Logistics and for Edward Thorne's residence. And did you find anything? More than we expected. The detective opened his notebook. At the company, we discovered evidence of tax fraud, money laundering, and documents proving Robert Silver's wrongful termination. Apparently, he had meticulously documented the irregularities before he was fired. Richard felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. Robert Silver had been an honest man trying to do the right thing, and he had paid for his integrity. And what about the attack? That's where it gets more complicated. At Thorne's house, we found detailed plans of the marina, specifically including your yacht. There was also information about your schedules and habits, but he claims he was investigating you for legitimate business reasons. And the men Luna saw? We haven't located them yet, but we have the security footage from the port. One of the men is a perfect match for Luna's description. Scar on his chin, same height and build. We're working on an ID. Richard took a deep breath. Detective, there's something that worries me. If Thorne finds out that Luna is Robert Silver's daughter, we've already considered that. It's why she needs to remain under protection. In fact, the detective hesitated. There's something else I need to tell you. What is it? This morning, two men tried to break into the shelter where Luna was registered before she disappeared. They posed as social workers, but the director got suspicious and called the police. The blood in Richard's veins ran cold. They're after her. Yes, and it confirms that Luna is in real danger. The good news is, one of the intruders was caught. He's a perfect match for the description of the man with the scar. And did he talk? Not yet, but we have enough evidence to arrest Thorne for conspiracy. The problem is, he may have the resources to flee the country before we can put all the pieces together. Just then, Marina appeared at the office door, visibly agitated. "Richard, Luna wants to talk to you both. She says she remembered something important." They went to the living room, where they found Luna sitting on the couch, holding Peter's hand. Her eyes were serious, as if she had made a difficult decision. "Mister, I remembered something my dad gave me before he died. He said if anything ever happened to him, I should show it to a police officer." "What is it, sweetie?" Detective Miller asked, approaching her. Luna stood up and went to the small backpack Marina had given her for her few belongings. From inside, she pulled out a small flash drive wrapped in plastic. "Dad said this had proof about the bad man, that one day someone would need to see what's on here." The detective took the flash drive carefully, as if it were the most precious object in the world. "Luna, you've kept this all this time?" "Yes. Dad said it was very important. I didn't know what to do with it, but now I do." Richard knelt in front of Luna. "Do you have any idea what might be on this flash drive?" Dad said he recorded conversations and photographed documents. He said the bad man couldn't get away with it forever. The detective looked at Richard. "I need to take this for analysis immediately. If it really contains evidence, will it be enough to arrest Thorne?" "It could be enough to put him away for a very long time." Luna approached the detective. "Mr. Policeman, if you arrest the bad man, will I be able to stay with Mr. Richard and Miss Marina forever?" The question touched the hearts of everyone present. The detective smiled for the first time since he'd arrived. "Luna, that will depend on a lot of legal things, but I can promise you one thing. You are not going back to the streets. And the people who hurt you are going to pay for what they did." Peter hugged Luna. "She's already part of our family anyway. Right, Dad?" Richard looked at Marina, who nodded with tears in her eyes. "She is, son. Luna is already part of our family. But first," the detective said, "we need to ensure she is completely safe. I'm arranging for police protection for this house until we have everyone involved in custody." Luna hugged Richard tightly. "Mister, Dad said that one day the truth would come out. I think that day has come." "It has, kiddo, and you were the key to making it happen." Outside, the sun set once more over the city, but this time it brought the promise of justice and a better future for them all. 2 weeks later, Detective Miller returned to the Sterling house with a smile that foretold good news. Robert Silver's flash drive had turned out to be a goldmine of evidence against Edward Thorne and his network of corruption. "Mr. Sterling, I'm pleased to inform you that Edward Thorne was arrested this morning," the detective announced. The evidence on the flash drive included recorded conversations where he admitted to fraud, falsified documents, and even a discussion about how to get rid of Robert Silver. Richard felt a weight lift from his shoulders. And the men who planted the bomb? Both have been apprehended. The man with the scar, identified as Carlos Mendez, confessed to everything in exchange for a reduced sentence. He admitted that Thorne hired them specifically to eliminate you and your family. Marina, who had been listening from the kitchen doorway, approached with visible relief. "Does this mean we're safe now?" "Completely safe. The entire network has been dismantled." Luna, who was playing with Peter in the garden, ran inside when she heard the voices. Over the past 2 weeks, she had completely transformed. She was attending a nearby private school, wore new clothes, and most importantly, had the constant smile of a truly loved child. "Mr. Policeman," she exclaimed, hugging Detective Miller, who had become a paternal figure in her life. "Did you arrest the bad man?" "We did, sweetie. And he's going to be in prison for a very, very long time. And now my dad can rest in peace?" "He can. Justice has been done." Luna ran to Richard and Marina. "Does this mean I can really stay with you forever?" "Actually," the detective said, "I have some documents here that need signing. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, if you still wish to officially adopt Luna, all the paperwork is ready." Richard took Marina's hand. In recent weeks, they had talked at length about adoption. There was no doubt in their hearts, Luna was already family. "Of course we do," Marina said, tears of happiness in her eyes. "Luna," Richard said, kneeling, "to her level, would you officially like to become our daughter? Luna Sterling." The girl covered her mouth with her hands, stunned. "For real? I'm going to have a family name just like yours." "If you want to." "I do. I really do." Peter came running from the living room. "Does that mean Luna is officially my sister now?" "It does, champ." "Yay!" Peter hugged Luna, who was laughing and crying at the same time. Detective Miller watched the scene with satisfaction. "You know, in 20 years on the force, I've never seen a case end so beautifully. Usually, when kids lose their parents in circumstances like these, the ending isn't a happy one." "This time was different," Richard said. "Luna didn't just save our family, she found a new one in the process." "And don't forget," Marina added, "she also got justice for her father. Robert Silver can rest in peace, knowing his daughter is safe and that the people responsible for his hardship are paying for their crimes." That evening, they celebrated with a special dinner. Luna, now officially Luna Sterling, wore a new dress Marina had bought for the occasion. Her face radiated a happiness that was contagious to the whole family. "Mom," Luna said, trying out the word for the first time, "can I tell you something?" "Of course, sweetie." "That afternoon at the marina, when I saw the men messing with the boat, I was really scared, but then I remembered what my dad always said." "What did he say?" "That good people deserve to be protected, and that sometimes one small person can make a big difference." Richard smiled. "Your father was right. You made a huge difference in our lives. And you made a huge difference in my life, too." Peter raised his glass of juice. "A toast to our new family." Everyone raised their glasses, and Marina proposed, "A toast to courage, to justice, and to families that are formed by love, not just by blood." "Aye." "And a toast to Luna's dad," Peter added seriously, "who's in heaven but helped take care of all of us." Luna looked up as if she could see her father. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you for teaching me to protect good people." That night, as Richard tucked Luna into bed in her new room, decorated with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling at her request, he reflected on how life could change in a matter of weeks. "Dad," Luna said, already lying down, "do you think all of this was destiny?" "What do you think?" "I think my dad sent me to that marina on that exact day to save you, and so I could find my new family." "Could be, kiddo. Could be. Good night, Dad." "Good night, daughter." The words sounded perfectly natural, as if it had always been this way. 6 months later, the city's marina had become a completely different place for the Sterling family. What was once just a place of business now held deep memories of transformation and rebirth. Richard walked along the pier with Luna and Peter, watching the morning bustle of workers and vessels. "Dad, look," Peter pointed. "Is that the spot where our boat used to be?" "It is, son." Richard looked at the empty slip where the golden hour had once been moored. "But you know what? I don't miss it one bit." "Why?" asked Luna, who now wore her private school uniform and carried a backpack full of books. Because I discovered that true wealth isn't the things we own, but the people we love and who love us back. The family had established a tradition of coming to the marina every Friday morning before Richard went to the office and the children to school. It was their special time together, a way of honoring the place where their lives had intertwined. "Luna," Peter said, "do you remember what it was like before you came to live with us?" Luna smiled, but it was a serene smile without sadness. "I do, but now it feels like a bad dream that's over." "And you don't miss, I don't know, the freedom of living on the street?" "Peter," Richard gently chided. "No, Dad, it's okay." Luna said, "I don't miss the street, Peter. Real freedom is being able to sleep without being afraid, having food every day, going to school, and most importantly, having a family that loves me." Richard looked at his adopted daughter with pride. In 6 months, Luna had excelled at school, revealing an exceptional intelligence that impressed her teachers. More importantly, she had fully integrated into the family, as if she had always been a part of it. "Look over there," Marina pointed, approaching with a picnic basket. "Do you recognize those kids?" Near the warehouses, 3 street children were searching through trash cans for food. Richard and Marina had decided to do something about the situation Luna had once lived in. "That's them," Luna confirmed. "I know the girl with the curly hair. Her name is Mia." "Should we go talk to them?" Marina suggested. They approached the children, who initially recoiled with suspicion. But when they saw Luna, their faces lit up. "Luna, wow, you look so different," exclaimed Mia, a girl of about 9. "Hi, Mia. I want to introduce you to my family." In the months following that first conversation, Richard and Marina had created the Robert Silver Foundation, dedicated to helping vulnerable children. Mia and 2 other children had already been placed with carefully selected families, following the Sterling's example. "You know," Marina said, handing out sandwiches to the children, "sometimes I think about how much our life has changed since that afternoon." "It changed for the better," Richard agreed. "I was so focused on building an empire that I almost forgot to build a real family." "And I," Luna added, "thought I would never have a family again after my dad died. But I found out that families can be born from love, not just from blood." Peter, ever pragmatic in his innocence, observed, "So it's a good thing the bad men tried to blow up our boat." "Peter," his parents exclaimed in unison. "No, he's right," Luna laughed. "If those men hadn't done that, I never would have met you. Sometimes bad things happen so that good things can be born." Richard put his arms around his family, looking at the horizon where the sun was rising over the ocean. "You know what I've learned? That real courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about doing the right thing, even when you are." "Like you did, Luna," Marina said. "You had the courage to warn us, even though you knew you could get in trouble. And you had the courage to take me home, even without really knowing me," Luna returned. "That's what families do," Peter said with childish wisdom. "They protect each other." As they headed home, Richard reflected on the irony of the situation. Edward Thorne had tried to destroy him, but in the process had ended up uniting 2 families that fate had separated. The man's greed and hatred had, unintentionally, become instruments of love and union. "Dad," Luna said, taking his hand, "do you think my dad, Robert, is proud of me?" "I am absolutely sure of it, honey. You honored his memory in the most beautiful way possible, by protecting other people and building a life full of love. And you, Dad, are you proud of me?" Richard stopped and knelt in front of Luna, right there in the middle of the street. "Luna Sterling, I have never been more proud of anyone in my entire life. You are brave, smart, kind, and most importantly, you are my daughter." Our daughter, Marina corrected, her voice thick with emotion. Our sister, Peter added. Our hero, Richard concluded. That afternoon, as Luna did her homework in the living room and Peter played in the garden, Richard looked out the window and smiled. Life had taught him that true wealth wasn't in multi-million-dollar contracts or luxury yachts, but in simple moments like this, a family united by love, children laughing in the garden, and the certainty that they had made a difference in each other's lives. The marina bustled in the distance, but now it was a symbol of hope, not of near tragedy. It was the place where a brave girl had saved a family, and where a grateful family had saved a girl. It was the place where kindness had triumphed over malice, and where love had built bridges where there had only been chasms. And so, true gratitude manifested not just in words, but in actions that transformed lives forever.